also following last night's meeting between House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene over her incendiary comments and embrace of conspiracy theories. According to the Associated Press, they spent about 90 minutes together in McCarthy's office. Aides offered no immediate comment afterward. The House GOP Steering Committee also met late last night. The Steering Committee, headed by McCarthy, is the group that picks which committees Republican members sit on and can also take away assignments. Two sources tell NBC News that nothing was decided at last night's meeting regarding Congresswoman Greene. Willie?
So Congressman McCarthy is quiet so far, but a growing number of Senate Republicans are speaking out about the Congresswoman.
I think we should have nothing to do with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and think we should repudiate the things she said and move away from her.
I think our party has to make it very clear that she does not represent us in any way. Our big tent is not large enough to both accommodate conservatives and kooks.
She doesn't represent the party. I don't want her as the face of our party. I think this is a great time for us to really talk about what we want to see in the upcoming years and continue to build. We don't need people that are promoting violence or anything like that.
That's Senator Joni Ernst there. Senator John Thune, a member of Republican leadership, spoke to CNN saying, quote, House Republicans will have to decide who they want to be. Do they want to be the party of limited government and fiscal responsibility, free markets, peace through strength, and pro-life? Or do they want to be the party of conspiracy theories and QAnon? Senator Marco Rubio of Florida told CNN, quote, we shouldn't be making these conspiracy theory people famous. I think it's undignifying, he said. Joe, you can add to that list Todd Young, the senator, who said that this woman, this congresswoman, is an embarrassment to the party. He said she is, quote, nutty. Obviously, Mitch McConnell 2 days ago led the way when he called her loony and laid out why she's bad for the party. He sees what Democrats are doing already. They're rolling out campaign ads, the DCCC, making the Republican Party the party of QAnon and the party of this backbench congresswoman from Georgia. And the Senate, if the House isn't doing anything, the Senate now is trying to put a stop to it.
Well, they're trying to separate themselves from her. But, you know, it's interesting that it's a legitimate attack against the House Republicans, at least, that Kevin McCarthy can't separate himself from her. The steering committee refuses to move on this. They're talking about punishing Liz Cheney, but afraid to cross this woman. And let's just be really clear, because people like to talk about Jewish space lasers and all these other crazy theories that she's had. But let's break this down. Where it actually threatens people inside Congress. She endorsed the assassination of Nancy Pelosi, putting a bullet in Nancy Pelosi's brain, liked that tweet. She said that people needed to be patient if they wanted to ensure that Barack Obama was lynched, that people were getting in place for the lynching of Barack Obama. People were getting in place for the lynching of Hillary Clinton. That if everybody was careful, they could make that happen, and liberal judges wouldn't get in the way to stop it. So, Willie, it's all you know. This House, Kevin McCarthy's House, is legitimately. A proper political target. You know, the Republicans spent an entire campaign trying to attach AOC's politics. AOC, who's never actually threatened to kill a Republican, but Republicans have spent the past several years attaching AOC's politics to everybody in the Democratic Party, from Nancy Pelosi to Joe Biden. That's illegitimate. It just is. I mean, because you look at the politics, you look at what Nancy Pelosi was mocking her caucus years ago on 60 Minutes. So that's actually not as accurate as Democrats who are now attaching this woman to a Republican conference who won't criticize her, who won't take away her committee assignments. Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.